everyone. Hi. Welcome back to my channel. I am Shelly, and if you're new here, then hi, I'm Shelly, and I absolutely love books and reading, and it shows in the books that I bought recently, or were gifted, because everyone who knows me well knows that I really love books and reading. And so that really came out during the holidays and what I bought in December. And so so I'm going to share with you all of the new books that I have acquired recently, and I'm calling it my winter haul because I really want to buy less, partly because I have less time for reading these days. I started a new job and, just have a little bit less time to pick up the old book. It's not really like pick up the whole book. It's just, I just truly, literally have less time to read. And partly because I have a lot of books that I do want to read. So I really want to dig into my collection. So I feel like maybe I'm going to be eating these words later, but I feel like this is the last book haul for a minute on my channel. But we'll see. So if you also like books and reading, then I would encourage you to subscribe and stick around. Okay, so let's get started. I'm like looking at my pile and I really don't know where to start. Should we do this in sort of like a timeline fashion, in chronological order, in the order in which I bought them or received them? I like that idea. Okay, so here is the deal. Early in December, I got really into reading SFF, science fiction fantasy. I think I was more on the fantasy side of the train than the science fiction side of the train. Shelly, what are you... I think I was sitting more on the side of fantasy than on the side of science fiction. However, they're all kind of the same to me. It's just a world in which it makes sense in the books, but doesn't exist in our world now. But the logic of whether it be the magic system, the science aspect of it, it all makes sense in the world of the books, and it is outside of the world that we currently occupy. So I went on a total kick, and I bought a bunch. Well, actually, you want to know the real deal, the real tea of it all as I grab all the books? The real thing is that I stalk Steve Donahue in his reviews. If you don't know who Steve Donahue is, I will leave his information down below. He has a channel here on YouTube. And so what I do is I'll just be like, greatest fantasy of all time. This is my Google search. Greatest fantasy of all time, Steve Donahue. And I'm like, did Steve Donahue blog about this, whether it even be a decade ago? Did he come up with a list of the greatest fantasy of all time? And indeed he did. Like back in 2016 or something, he had a greatest 50 science fiction fantasy books published thus far. and so of course I'm like looking at that list with eagerness, and of course that decides to guide my purchasing. And so this is what I walked out of the bookstore with. I came up with The Last Unicorn by Peter S. Beagle. Don't know much about it. I think this is actually a middle grade book, but truly I couldn't even tell you. It was on Steve's list, and so I bought it. And then we also have, all of these were from Steve's list. And then we also have Startide Rising by David Brin. Know nothing about this. I also have A Million Open Doors by John Barnes. And finally, I've actually heard Steve talk about this on his channel pretty often, and I know the premise of it, so I can talk about it. Oops, receipts. This is Dies the Fire by S.M. Sterling. This tells, the premise of this world, rather, is that technology has suddenly just died. It's gone. And one cannot even like fire a firearm, any type of gun or anything. And so it is, with that premise, it is about a group of people who are trying to survive when all of technology has basically just been flipped off. or the switch has been flipped off on technology. I think that's, you know, nobody's giving anybody the birdie over here. So anyways, so Dies the Fire, I heard it's really good, and I saw it, actually, like, I went to a couple of bookstores in December, one of which I usually do really well in, I didn't do very well in. Like, one bookstore that typically has really good stock didn't have very good stock this time around, and so this was one of the only books I found in that bookstore, and so I was excited to get it, even though it may have not been my first choice. It's kind of, you know. Anyways, so those were all the SSF books that I randomly picked up because of a blog that Steve Donahue wrote like 7 years ago. Okay, then on a total whim, in the classics section, I saw this writer and I was like, I'm curious. And it is Mary Renault. And I bought The Persian Boy, but I thought it was interesting that she was shelved at this bookstore under classics, like classic authors. Edith Wharton was there, you know, Ernest Hemingway, the Greeks, the ancient Greeks, and then all of a sudden we have this person, and I was like, I am fairly familiar with the popular classic authors, and I was like, I don't know much about Mary Renault. I feel like I'm saying that wrong. I don't know much about this author, and so I was like, well, I want to pick up something, and I realized that I have a bit of an itch for ancient Greek retellings, and so anyway, so I picked this up, and then it was also, after I bought it, it was highly reviewed, it was highly spoken about, again, by Steve Donahue, so I was like, I think I'm doing something right, or maybe there's like some osmosis going on, maybe more people are talking about Mary Renault than I realized, and yeah, and so maybe she's someone I need to meet on the page. So I decided to pick this up, and I'm excited because though I know nothing about it, I did enjoy an ancient Greek telling last month. I did enjoy an ancient Greek retelling last month, though I didn't necessarily get along with the entire thing. The part that I got along with was the Greek retelling aspect of it, the world and the way the world was built, and so I'm excited to dive in again to the ancient world, but with another author. The final book from this bookstore trip that I took, where I went to 2 bookstores, the final book I bought is one that Gloria Z. Thompson, if you don't know her, she's got a lovely channel here. I'm gonna leave her link down below, and others have talked about with enthusiasm, and that is City of Thieves by David Benioff. I've heard great things about this, and I was like, I've heard it's a quick read. I heard that it's gotten people back into reading. Don't know much about it, but you know, when someone talks about a book with such sort of glowing enthusiasm, and you can see it all over their person, that they just love the book, it's hard to be like, I don't want that. Like, you know, that's what gets me curious about it too. That's why we're all here. And so I knew that this was very, like, glowingly praised by several booktubers. And so when I saw it, I was like, it was one of those, like, what is it, like you perk up, or, let me think. The only metaphor I can think of is like, I was like a moth towards light, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to read that, you know? So I picked this up. And then Christmas came, and I got several things for Christmas that were just, oh, I forgot one. Oh my gosh, let me go get that. There were 2 books, y'all, 2. Okay, so let's start with, my sweet husband heard that there was a mammoth of a book, and he was like, oh, are you gonna read that? And I was like, I don't own it, so I'm not gonna read it if I don't own it. So he took it upon himself to buy the book for me, so now I have the option to read it, which it was one of those like, oh, thank you, but I have got a lot of mammoths that I have to choose from, let's say. Like, I could do a year of reading mammoths. Oh, something just came back to me that I was thinking about. Okay, file the thought away, Shelly. Okay, so anyways, what was I saying now? A year of reading mammoths. And, oh, and here is the book that he chose for me. It's in a beautiful edition, so I'm really grateful. And I heard great things about it, and that is The Count of Monte Cristo in the Penguin cloth-bound edition, right? So it's a beautiful edition of, you know, in Penguin, and it's The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. Now I feel like there are a couple of, actually last year, it seems like a whole bunch of booktubers got on the same wavelength and we all picked up the same classic Mammoth. There were two books last year that I felt like pretty much everybody read, and it was The Count of Monte Cristo and War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. And I was on the War and Peace train, and then I was done. And last year, I felt like a lot of people read The Count of Monte Cristo, and there was quite a few positive reviews. I think pretty much everybody that at least I interact with and hang out with had really great things to say about it. And so I'm glad that I got it. It's not about that. It was just like, wow, it's just a huge book. I mean, it's huge. So yeah, so thanks hubby for this. And then my mom sent me a book. It was one that she recently finished and said that it was unputdownable, which is always a great description for me. It makes my ears perk up. And that is The Color of Water by James McBride. Now, my mother pretty much only reads for pleasure. She only reads memoirs. And so when a really great memoir comes across her desk, when a great memoir gets into her hands and she can't put it down, she likes to share with me. And so this is the one that she wanted to share for this year. From my father-in-law, he is somebody who loves to get me signed books that are signed by the author. And it's always kind of like, it's always a surprise. It's usually a book I've never heard of. And so here we have the journals of Susanna Moody, and this is written by Margaret Atwood, and the art is done by Charles Patcher. And so here is what the book looks like. I really love the cover. It's beautiful. And for inquiring minds, here on this side over here is Margaret Atwood's signature. And then from a friend, I was given this mammoth of a book. It was a joint gift to my husband and myself, and it is South Carolina, A History, and it's by Walter Edgar, whose name is familiar to me because there is an audio production on National Public Radio that plays in our area because I live in South Carolina, and it's called Walter Edgar's Journal, and so he gives little facts and tidbits, shares a few minutes about the history of South Carolina. So it was really interesting. I didn't know that he had written a book, though I wasn't surprised that he had. And this is the history of, apparently people want me to read Mammoths this year. Yeah, because this is the history of South Carolina, and it's not a brief history, though it is probably actually a brief history, but you know, it's quite the mammoth. Just a sturdy book, beautiful book, and I'm glad that it will be sitting on my shelves, hopefully for not too long, but I'm not making any promises. From another friend, a different friend, I received 2 more books, and these were chosen because this friend knows how much I just adore Steve and Steve's channel. I've actually had to tell myself I cannot talk as much about Steve because I'm just gonna annoy people. But anyways, his end of the year lists came out, and my friend knows that I stock those end of the year lists, and so I was given 2 books from that list. And so I have Holding Her Breath, and this is by Amir Ryan. This made the best of debut fiction on Steve's end of the year list. It wasn't like the number 1 or anything, but it made the list. And so I have great hope that this is going to be a lovely read. It's a slim novel, so let's hope I get to this sooner than I get to like South Carolina history. And then also this friend chose very wisely that Holding Her Breath is a great choice for me, but this was even better because it was the number 1 history book on Steve's list, and it is After the Romanovs by Helen Rappaport. Now, I have not read anything by Helen Rappaport, but I've heard incredible things about her writing, and this book is supposed to give new life to old history, a way in which it makes it very consumable and enjoyable for a new generation, which I thought was a wonderful description for for a history book. And so, one, I'm just excited about the author. Two, I'm excited that it is his Steve's #1 history book. And three, I am excited to learn more about Russian history. So this is wonderful. Final book I have to show you, I was given a gift card for Amazon. And of course I'm going to use an Amazon gift card to buy books. Of course I am. Of course I am. And so one of the books I chose, the other two are in the mail. I just wanted to do this haul now. So the other two are coming to me. But I'll show you this one and I'll leave the other two for a later date. But it is the Makiaka Sisters by, oh gosh, I don't think I've ever said the name of the author. It's by Junichiro Tanatsuki. You get the idea. Yeah, so the Makiaka Sisters, which I've heard is just an incredible piece of literature. I'm so excited. And this is the vintage edition, which apparently when I was reorganizing my bookshelves, Vintage, the publisher Vintage, I have a lot of books from this publisher. So I don't know if it's because, I don't know, but I love, floppy softcover books. It's my favorite kind of editions to hold in my hands, to read, to consume, and to collect. And so I got this, and I'm just so thrilled. I'm so thrilled to have this, and I'm hoping to read it, soon, whenever that is soon. So yeah, that's it. Tell me, what, have you read any of these books? Are there ones that you can give an enthusiastic thumbs up to? I would love to know. Yeah, and let me know, what have you acquired recently? Just give me all the tea about your bookish life. This is what I live for, y'all. But yeah, okay, so that's it for me. I am gonna go, but thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I really appreciate it, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye, guys.